Have you ever wondered how interconnected the world economy truly is? It's a vast web, a complex network where each thread represents a trade route, a multinational corporation, a shipping line. At the heart of this web is China, the world's second largest economy, a titan of industry and manufacturing. China's economic influence is far-reaching. It's not just about the toys, electronics, or clothing we buy. It's about the raw materials they import, the international investments they make, and the technology they develop. China is intertwined with economies across the globe, from the United States in the west to the Philippines in the east and the ASEAN countries in the south. Picture the United States, a global superpower with a robust economy. It's home to Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and vast agricultural plains. Now consider the Philippines, known for its vibrant culture, rich biodiversity, and growing economy. Then there are the ASEAN countries, a diverse group of 10 Southeast Asian nations, each with its unique strengths, collectively a significant player in the global economy. These nations are not isolated islands. They are part of a global network, a network where goods, services, and capital flow freely. China, the United States, the Philippines, and the ASEAN countries, they're all threads in this global economic web. Each one influences and is influenced by the others. But what if one thread was to suddenly snap? What if China, this economic powerhouse, was hit with worldwide sanctions? What would happen to the global economy? How would it affect the United States, the Philippines, and the ASEAN countries? These are intriguing questions, aren't they? They make you think about the fragility of our global economic web and the complex dance of diplomacy, trade, and power that keeps it intact. So, what could happen if this intricate web was disrupted by worldwide sanctions against China? Keep watching until the end for the answer. And don't forget to hit subscribe and like. It only takes 3 seconds. Now, you might be wondering, how powerful is China's economy? China, the world's most populous nation, is not just a cultural melting pot with a history that spans thousands of years. It's also an economic titan that has been steadily growing its influence on the global stage. Let's start with manufacturing. China is often dubbed the world's factory. From electronics to textiles, toys to automobiles, China is the largest manufacturing economy on the globe. The country's vast workforce and low production costs have made it a destination of choice for many international companies looking to manufacture their goods. But China's economic prowess doesn't stop at manufacturing. The country is also a significant player in global trade. It's the world's largest exporter of goods, sending everything from machinery and electronics to clothing and medical equipment across the globe. Furthermore, China has been flexing its economic muscles through its Belt and Road Initiative, a massive global development strategy involving infrastructure development and investments in nearly 70 countries. This initiative extends China's economic influence far beyond its borders, further cementing its role as a global economic powerhouse. Yet, China's rise has not been without controversy. Its activities in the West Philippine Sea have raised eyebrows and caused tension with neighboring countries and beyond. China's assertive stance and territorial claims in these disputed waters have led to calls for sanctions from countries such as the Philippines, the United States, and other ASEAN nations. So, yes, China is indeed an economic behemoth. Its manufacturing capabilities, its role as a global exporter, and its international investments have given it a firm footing in the world economy. But like any titan, it's not invincible. But how does this economic might stand against international sanctions? To answer that, we'll need to delve deeper into the potential impacts of such sanctions, the perspectives of ASEAN countries, and the possible unraveling of China's economy. But that's a story for the next scenes. Stay tuned. Sanctions. What are they really, and what potential impact could they have? Let's delve into this. Sanctions are essentially a form of economic punishment or pressure applied by one country or a group of countries on another. They can take many forms, such as trade embargoes, asset freezes, or restrictions on financial transactions. The aim? To compel the targeted nation to change a particular policy or behavior. Now let's consider the impact of sanctions on an economy. At the most basic level, sanctions disrupt the normal flow of goods, services, and capital. They can make it harder for the targeted country to sell its products abroad or to buy what it needs from international markets. Take, for instance, the case of Iran. When severe sanctions were imposed on the country over its nuclear program, it led to a sharp decline in oil exports, soaring inflation, and a drop in the value of the Iranian currency. Or let's look at Russia. Following the annexation of Crimea, sanctions were imposed that limited Russia's access to global financial markets and high-tech goods. This, in turn, slowed down the Russian economy and led to a fall in living standards. But it's not just the targeted country that can be affected. Sanctions can also have a ripple effect on the global economy. They can disrupt global supply chains, increase uncertainty in financial markets, and even lead to higher prices for consumers in countries that have imposed the sanctions. There's no denying the power of sanctions in changing the course of international relations. However, they are not without their drawbacks. Sanctions can lead to humanitarian crises, as seen in Iraq in the late 90s, and they can also inadvertently strengthen the very regimes they aim to weaken by rallying nationalistic sentiments. So, if sanctions were imposed on China, what would be the possible consequences? Well, considering China's massive role in the global economy, the impact could be far-reaching and unpredictable. But that's a topic for another day. For now, let's just say that sanctions are a complex tool of economic statecraft, with the potential for both great success and great harm. Stay tuned to find out more. But what about the ASEAN countries? What could be their role and impact in this situation? To understand this, we need to delve into the intricate economic relationships between China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN. This group includes 10 countries, among them the Philippines, and they share a significant economic bond with China. Trade between China and ASEAN has been booming, with ASEAN becoming China's largest trading partner in 2020. Mutual investments are also substantial, with China being one of the top investors in ASEAN countries. But beyond these financial ties, there's also a complex web of supply chains. Many ASEAN countries are integral parts of China's manufacturing and production networks. For instance, raw materials from Indonesia and Malaysia often wind up in Chinese factories, while electronics from the Philippines and Vietnam are often destined for Chinese consumers. Now, imagine if these ASEAN countries were to join the world in imposing sanctions on China. The disruption would be monumental. Trade would plummet, investments would freeze, and supply chains would break down. The ripple effects would be felt not just in China and ASEAN, but worldwide. Yet, it's not as simple as it sounds. Sanctions are a double-edged sword. While they could potentially pressure China, they could also hurt the economies of the ASEAN countries themselves. After all, they have come to rely heavily on the Chinese market. So would the ASEAN countries be willing to bear this cost? And what about the Philippines, which has its own territorial disputes with China? Would it be ready to risk its economic ties with Beijing? These are tough questions with no easy answers, but they highlight the complexity of the situation and the potential for far-reaching consequences. But the question remains, what would happen to China's economy under global sanctions? Could it withstand the pressure, or would it buckle under the strain? These are questions that we'll explore in the next scene, so stay tuned and keep wondering. Now let's delve into the main question we've been pondering. So, what could happen if China, the world's second-largest economy, were to face worldwide sanctions? Well, the unraveling of China's economy wouldn't be a pretty sight. China's economic might is built on a delicate balance of global trade relations. It's the world's largest exporter and second-largest importer of goods. When this balance is threatened by global sanctions, it's like pulling a thread from a finely woven tapestry. The effects would be far-reaching and chaotic. First off, China's manufacturing sector, the beating heart of its economy, would take a massive hit. Sanctions would limit the import of raw materials and the export of finished goods. This could lead to factory closures, job losses, and a significant economic slowdown. Next, let's talk about the domino effect. Sanctions against China could trigger a cascade of economic consequences. China's trade partners, including the United States and ASEAN countries, would also suffer from the disruption of supply chains and loss of a major market. This could potentially lead to a global economic downturn. In the financial sector, China's stock market and currency might experience a severe downturn. The country's ability to borrow from international markets could be hampered, leading to a potential financial crisis. But it's not all doom and gloom. Such a crisis could also force China to rethink its economic strategies, potentially leading to a more sustainable and equitable growth model. It could also recalibrate global economic relations, inspiring a more balanced and fair system of international trade. So, to answer the unanswered question from our first chapter, will worldwide sanctions lead to the downfall of China's economy? The answer, like most things in economics, is complex. While a severe economic downturn is likely, the long-term effects could be more nuanced, reshaping both China's economy and the global economic order. That's our take on what could happen to China's economy under worldwide sanctions. Subscribe for more amazing content and keep wondering. Don't miss out on future explorations and discoveries. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with our new content. Your journey of wonder continues with every video. Stay connected and engaged on social media. Continue the conversation, follow us. Thank you for being a part of the Have You Ever Wondered community. Keep wondering, keep discovering. Until next time.